So today I want to talk a little bit more about identity, belonging, and self-love. We're going to be talking a lot as we move forward about these concepts as they relate to connection and disconnection and how this can create so much suffering in our personal lives, in our relationships, and also just in our world as a whole. There are so many people that are suffering from feeling disconnected, feelings of disconnection, and we are, I think, in a crisis in this country around relationship, and not just relationships like marriage relationships, but parents with their children, relationships in our community with one another, relationships with ourselves. I think we are in an identity crisis in this country, and I think that there is so much work to be done around this idea of identity and this idea of connection and love and self-love and love for other people. And so I want to talk about where some of this stuff begins, why we disconnect from people, why we push people away, why we have such a hard time with understanding our own identity, where that gets confused and lost along the way, and how the loss of that identity and that self-concept really impacts our lives in important ways. And so this is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I want to talk for a minute and just share with you some of the things that you guys have emailed to me as it relates to this topic. And I pulled up some of the emails and the messages that you have all sent me. And I just want to kind of set the stage for this conversation a little bit. Just so you guys know too, I've got a lot to cover here. This is going to be deeply personal, and we're going to talk a lot about trauma wounds and as it relates to identity and why we reject ourselves, why we create disconnection for ourselves, and how that relates to other people. So this is going to be a little bit deep. It's going to be a lot, but I don't want you to worry. I invite you to get a cup of tea and settle in. Just know that I'm going to be breaking these ideas down into smaller chunks, and we're going to be really talking about this as we move forward. We're going to be doing some workshops on connection, how do we build connection, self-love, and all kinds of things to help us be able to live more full lives. So please shoot me a private message, shoot me a DM if you want access to those workshops. If you want to go through the stuff that I'm presenting to you one-on-one or again in these small groups, please reach out to me. Let me know you're interested, because this is all going to be coming down the pipeline here. So let me share with you some of the things that you guys have emailed me. I have pages and pages of these things that I've written down. This woman said, I would like to erase shame and judgment. For every human to be more curious and capable of following love more than fear. The next person said, I would like to find a true partnership. I want connection. The next person said, I want companionship. The next person said, I want connection. The next person said, I want better relationship with my husband. We used to be so much closer and I want that back. She said, I want peace of mind. I struggle with anxiety, depression, and the need for control. These are impacting my parenting and my love life. The next woman said, I want to find my love tribe. I want more love in my life. I want more connection. I want less reactivity, the next woman said. She said, I'm mostly driven from shame, and I wish I could be more grounded in myself and know who I am. One said, I want better communication skills when it comes to intimate relationships. I want to know how to talk to people, how to connect. The next person said, I want to be able to trust again and have self-confidence, confidence in myself. The next said, I want to have the right words to say when a friend is in need. I wish I could have more empathy, and I also want personal growth more than anything. I'm ready to heal. The next person said, I'm overly independent, and I know this. I wish I could have more meaningful relationships that are true and authentic. This includes friendships. One said, I want to learn how to create healthy boundaries with toxic family members. She said, I want peacefulness, and I want to be able to feel content with who I am. One said she wants inner peace. I want to have better partnerships. I want to have more joy. I want to get past my insecurities. I want to be able to establish boundaries sooner. I want to let people in. I want more connection. Are you guys noticing a theme here? I want to be involved in real, loving, sincere relationships. I want deeper, loving relationships, the next person said. These all sound almost identical. I wish I could feel happiness more often. I wish I could have more joy, someone else said. To be more understanding of other people, to be less impacted by angry emotions and judgment. One person said, I want to be able to have my past relationship traumas no longer hold my heart back. I'm hesitant. I'm scared to jump all in. I wish I could explore more. I want more love. I want more confidence. I want to be more in tune with myself. On and on and on they go. But you're hearing a theme here, right? We want connection. We want intimacy. We want love. But we are shutting ourselves off. We're closing ourselves off from it. And I want to show you a little bit how that works and part of why we do that. So many people are walled off. They're scared. They're hesitant. They don't trust. They're afraid they're going to get hurt. And so they hurt themselves in the beginning by just not even going there or sabotaging the relationship, right? Brene Brown talks about how we, in this world, in this life, we want things to be fun, fast, and easy, right? You can have courage or you can have comfort, but you cannot have them both. And I see so many people in relationship, as soon as something gets hard, they bail, right? And it's done in the name of boundaries so often, and I am all for boundaries, but boundaries are not walls. And you know that one of the other things that Brene Brown talks about is if the only two tools you have in your tool bag are coddling or shaming, that's a shitty ass tool bag, right? The other way we could say this, the way that I often say it, is if the only two tools you have in your tool bag for relationship are being a doormat or just saying, well, I guess everything's just okay the way it is, right? And you just have this assumption like I either just have to put up with it and not do anything about it and just allow whatever behavior to exist, or the only other option I have is to throw a wall up and disconnect and say, I'm out of here, I'm not putting up with that shit. And it's like, those are your only two options? And there's so much middle ground, right? What if we could learn to have difficult conversations? What if we could lean into discomfort and say, hey, I really don't like this behavior. This feels suffocating. This feels frustrating. This feels disrespectful. This feels fill in the blank. What if those behaviors didn't have to mean that something had gone terribly wrong in the world? What if those behaviors didn't mean that we had to cut people out of our lives or just shut down emotionally? Many people do this, that whole fight, flight or freeze thing, right? And so they'll be in a relationship and they may not leave the relationship, but they have emotionally shut down. They've put up walls. They're not engaging anymore, right? What does it look like to roll up our sleeves and to turn towards someone in the midst of their shitty behavior or in the midst of their pain? And what does it look like to have an authentic conversation, to connect, to figure out what's going on for you right now? Let's talk about this. It doesn't mean that you have to be the solver of their problems. It doesn't mean you have to be the rescuer. It doesn't mean that you have to be just okay with any behavior if it's not appropriate, right? There's tools like assertiveness and truth-telling that can go hand in hand with love, right? This is what I need you to do. I love you. I'll be back in a few days. You know, if you've been able to meet these expectations, because these are really important to me, and if you haven't, then we're going to talk again, right? And there can be all this middle ground. And so again, I want to really repeat that boundaries are not walls. Sometimes they look like fences. Sometimes it looks like taking a break and coming back. There's so much nuance, and it's a dance, right? But we get so freaked out by human behavior that is not appealing or fun. And I think we shut down because we don't have the tools. We don't have the emotional resiliency to be able to step into the arena with someone when they're hurting. And again, it doesn't mean you have to take responsibility for it in the sense that it's your job, and it's not even something you have to do. If it works for you to just shut down and disconnect and leave and whatever, then go for it. It's no judgment. We get to do whatever we want to do. But what I hear from so many people over and over and over again is, man, I have a hard time connecting with people sometimes, and I want intimacy, I want love, but sometimes there is an intimacy and a connection and a love that is found on the other side of conflict, on the other side of discomfort. Sometimes you have to go through that river of misery in order to get to the other side, where you see someone, their ugliness and their beauty, and you have gone through this process with them, and there's such an intimacy and a connection and a closeness that exists on the other side of that. And I know that because I have gone through that. I've gone through it with my mom, I've gone through it with my family, I've gone through it with my ex-fiance, right? And we went through this process, and in the end we still ended up deciding not to get married, but I understood her so much better, and there was a love that was so much deeper. I see her as her best self. I see all the beautiful things about her, right? And I can still love her so deeply because I was willing to go through that process. If I had just shut down when things got hard, when we were fighting and people were saying mean things or acting mean or angry or inappropriate, if I had just been like shut down and not gone through that process, I would have never been able to come to the other side where I was able to understand where that behavior is coming from, why it exists, and also to see the pain that was underneath that, right? And to have some empathy for that. And so I just want to say that for me, that's what choosing courage over comfort means to me in this situation, right? It means being willing to go through the hard thing. And on the other side of that hard thing, there was a connection and a meaningful relationship that maybe didn't end up looking exactly the way it started, but it was still beautiful. And so when I see people asking about how to have more connection and intimacy and better relationships and more love, I think this is the answer, right? We need to be able to raise our tolerance for discomfort. We need to be able to raise our tolerance for human behavior. And the way that we do that is by understanding where it comes from. And as we go into this arena, should you decide that you want to go after this, there is going to be something important for you to learn around having difficult conversations and creating boundaries and what this can look like, because you also, this is never at your own expense, right? You protect yourself in the meantime, but it doesn't mean you have to run away. And so I want to talk about what that can look like in future workshops and future exercises.